Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today for our panel discussion, The Art of Drag. My name is Laura Bocadoro. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm the administrative coordinator at the New Haven Pride Center. Before we begin today's programs, we'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we are hosting this event. The New Haven Pride Center was founded and operates on the traditional lands of the Mohegan, Nantucket, Pequot, Nantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, the Shattuck, the Golden Hill Paugussett, Niantic, and the Quinnipiac peoples. We hope that from wherever you are, you take a moment to acknowledge and honor the Native people whose lands you occupy and the history of the place you are in. You can find out more information about Native lands at native/land.ca. Now I'm excited to welcome you to today's program. From costumes to dance routines, drag is a choreographed spectacle combining many different art forms, and it has been used by communities throughout history for self-expression and gender transgression. Hear from the masters of the art as they discuss what the form means to them, how they advance in art, their practice, and challenges to mainstream acceptance and recognition. This panel will feature perspectives from Sparkle A. Diamond, Ray De Corazon, Lucy Laduka, and it will be moderated by Kiki Lucia. Finally, before we begin, we would like to thank our sponsors who made today's program possible. Thank you to CT Humanities for all your support, and we'd also like to thank our partners for this program, the Yale Cabaret. Your support helps facilitate important conversations like this one. If you would like to know more about sponsoring programs like these, please feel free to reach out. I would also like to take a moment to thank Chris and Nick for coordinating our ASL interpreting and all the amazing interpreters we work with to make our programming more broadly accessible. Now, I'd like to introduce the moderator of our event, Kiki Lucia.
Hey, girl.
Hey.
Thank you, Laura. Mwah. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Kiki Lucia. I am going to be your moderator / host this evening. And I'm so excited to be here with some of my favorite drag pals. I can't say gal pals because we got a drag king in the house tonight, but some of my favorite drag pals. I work with these performers all the time. I adore them to pieces. They are incredibly, incredibly talented. And we are so excited to be here tonight to talk to you about drag. Drag is a fabulous art form. It is something that we do out of passion because we're sure as hell not doing it for the money. And I am just going to bring our panelists in because nobody came here to listen to me. We want to hear from our fabulous guests. So first up is my good sister, Miss Lucy Laduka. Hey, girl.
Hey, Queen. Can you hear me?
Oh, you sound fabulous.
Gay as ever. God. I just want to be clear right off the bat. I do this for the money. So just going forward, I want that to be clear.
You do it for the money. Sure, yes. Girl, sure. Next up, I'm going to bring in Miss Sparkle A. Diamond.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I am fabulous, but Lucy is next to you and she got cooties, so I think you need to get from next to her.
Yeah!
Oh, wow.
This is going to be a key. I know it already. This is going to be so much fun. And finally, last but definitely not least, one of my favorite performers in Connecticut, definitely my favorite king, Ray De Corazon.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, Ray, how are you?
I'm good.
Well, I am so excited to have you all here tonight. I'm going to let you just give me like a brief, 1 minute elevator speech of who you are, starting with Lucy.
Oh, hi. My name is Lucy Laduka. I have performed in New Haven for many, many years. I've been doing drag for like 11 years now. So since I was, Kiki, 10 years old? Crazy.
Something like that.
And I am lucky enough to perform in Connecticut very often, and my favorite thing to do on stage is to make people laugh.
And you do it well, mostly at your face. But I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Sparkle, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Sparkle A. Diamond. Right now, I'm not Sparkle A. Diamond. I'm Kishorn Henry Walker. I've been living in Connecticut for about 3.5 years. Prior to Connecticut, I lived in Philadelphia. Before that, in the DC area, Baltimore, DC area. That's where I started doing drag. I've been doing drag for about 14 years now. Most notably, I'm a Tina Turner impersonator, but have done other have done other artists for sure. Super excited to be here overall. I've performed in and around Connecticut, in and around Philadelphia, in and around the DC area, Atlanta, the Carolinas. Had a few places that I've performed over the years, but very excited to be here and share some knowledge.
Well, we're glad to have you, Sparkle. And finally, again, last but not least, Ray, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Ray Carson. So I started doing drag up in college in Ithaca, New York, and I kind of performed here and there. Whenever I visited, I would try to perform in Connecticut, and then I would go back to school and perform there. I have been doing drag for it's going to be 4 years in a couple months. And when I started drag, I was trying to perform as much as I can, and so I performed in Ithaca, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and then I went out to LA for a while. So I feel like I was very fortunate when I started to be able to have a lot of performance opportunities, and it helped me grow pretty quickly and learn a lot really quickly because there was that opportunity there.
Well, I have to say I adore all of you because I'm so fortunate that I get to work with all of you constantly. Shows that I produce, shows you produce, right? We get to do a lot of things together. And yeah, I just love all of you and the art that you do. And yeah, the happiness you bring. So I'm going to start with my first question, which is super easy. I do want to say, audience, there's like 50, 60, 70 of you watching right now. So if you have a question, you can just comment from wherever you are. You're on Twitch, you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, wherever you are. Just, make a comment. And I'm going to try to sneak them in there in between my questions and comments. So please share, please comment. But my first question for all of you is, how would you describe the style of drag that you do? Like, there's so many different varieties of drag. There's people who do realism, comedy, impersonations. We talked a little bit about. What would you say is like your distinct style of drag? And we're going to popcorn this. So jump in when you are ready. If you do not, I will call on you like a middle school teacher.
I guess I can go first with this one. My style. So there are a couple of things that come to mind as it relates to my style of drag. The first word that comes to mind for me, though, is nostalgia. When I do a show, I like to leverage a lot of the divas that we have in the music business, and I like to take people back to a day in the time or a day in a life when they were where they were when they were listening to whatever song, right? So I tend to do a lot of older songs. I tend to do like the Whitney Houstons. I talked earlier about the Tina Turners, the Beyoncés even. But more like older music to really take people back and entertain people and help them to get to a place where like they see the silver lining through those memories. So I guess I'll popcorn it. Ray, you're in a good situation tonight because I got something for Lucy. That old drag room, that old before the show drag room quarrel, Lucy, you gonna get it tonight. So I'm popcorning it right to her. I'm gonna tell you, I'm coming for Lucy because she threw something at me last show.
I did.
Well, Lucy and I are always bickering,
Twice.
so.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for being honest. Yeah, twice.
Well, one of us has to be.
So Lucy, I guess that means that you got to go next.
Okay. Well, I would say that the main thing that I do is comedy. That's what I've been good at comedy my entire life. That's like the one thing I know that I'm really good at. And it's actually really fun for me to figure out how to make each person laugh because everybody's got a different sense of humor. So first and foremost, I do comedy. But other than that, I actually try extremely hard to basically say that there's nothing that I can't do. So depending on the theme of the show, I like to think that I can do a lot of different things. So if it's comedy, then I can do that. If it's spooky season, then I can put together something that can really kind of make your skin crawl. And just lately, I've been incorporating a lot more live singing into my act because I did go to school for musical theater. I went to a music conservatory. So just
Lucy has
lately, I've
an
been trying to go.
amazing voice. Lucy has an amazing voice.
It's okay. Thank you, Kiki. That's very sweet of you.
And Ray, what about you?
So it's kind of like evolved and like I kind of started out and this is most of my character tends to be overly sexualized, but because that's how I started out kind of performing. But like genre wise, I'm doing whatever music feels good and feels like it fits my character. And recently, like I'm trying to, or I've always kind of tried to put an element of glamour to the look. I take a lot of inspiration from like Landon Cider and his stuff is over the top and you kind of have to do that. Like if you look at the history of drag kings, it was really toned down and now everyone's trying to match up to the queens with like costumes and be just as theatrical, and it's kind of a necessity to be taken seriously. But now I'm trying to kind of expand my drag because I kind of felt like I was a little restricted, and I don't know if it was feeling other people's expectations of me or me kind of projecting my own expectations of like trying to be what people thought I should be or whatever. So now I'm trying to find ways to just branch out and try new things, and also try new things that I'm proud of and put more thought into. Because at first, when I was just like trying to do as much drag as I could, it was just I felt like I didn't feel proud of what I was doing, and now I'm just trying to like try new things and feel proud of everything I do. So I guess there is kind of like a character that I have, but right now, like I tried for the first time doing an impersonation recently when I did Ellen John, or like doing like more drag queen stuff, and so that's where I'm at right now with like who Ray is.
That's awesome. I can relate to that, Ray, because I feel like sometimes that like weird imposter syndrome of like, oh, my art is like not connecting to like where I want it to go, and like I'm just doing this because I know I'm going to make money off of it, and so I feel you on that. I feel you, and like wanting to connect to like the artistry. And so we've had like a series of questions, and I'm gonna like combine them all with my next question because they're kind of all related. So you're gonna get like a soup of questions, and you can kind of answer them. So there was, so the questions were, what were the inspiration for your persona? How has it evolved? And also, what was the, where did you come up with your name? How did you come up with your name? Has it changed or is it still the same? So that's kind of, it's a soup of questions. And we're gonna start with Lucy because why not?
Because I'm here. So
Because she's pretty.
When I first started drag, my main inspirations, and Kiki, you know this, were very much like Barbie and like Farrah Fawcett and like those, Pam Anderson, those type of people. And although I still go for that look sometimes, I'm finding out more. I'm way more like Joan Rivers than I am Farrah Fawcett at this point. You know, like the older that I get, and the more
Cranky
strength
you are.
that I have in my comedy. No, not cranky. How dare you? So that's how it's sort of evolved. I used to be sort of, I think, going off of what Ray was just saying, like when we first start, we feel like we need to define what it is that we do, and the more that I do drag, the less defined it becomes, because I just want to do everything, you know. And to answer the second soup question, my first name Lucy is an homage to Lucille Ball, because you know, as I said, comedy is like my first love. And then Laduka is actually a shoe brand, and I made that up when I was in school for musical theater. It's the brand of shoes that most people wear on a Broadway stage.
I didn't know that. That's really fun. I really like. Well, this is going to be fun for me because I'm going to get to know everybody a little bit better. I mean, I know all kinds of stuff about all of you, but this is going to be fun.
Not appropriate for this panel, though.
No, but I could tell the story of how we met. I mean, that was a fun story. I helped Lucy with her pads when we met, because her costume was a little tight to get them in.
Didn't wear much back then.
No. If I remember correctly, it was a bikini made of candy wrappers.
Candy. It was Halloween.
Of course, candy that you didn't eat because you were so tiny back then. Like, the idea of eating candy was not a thing.
No. Nope.
That was also back when Lucy used to bring cupcakes and baked goods to every show because she was trying to get everybody else fat.
I did. I just, you know, I had more time back then. I'll bring it back. I'll still try to fatten you guys up.
Don't worry, COVID already did it.
Hey, your words, not mine.
Ray, how about you? That soup of questions again was just to revat. It was, you know, how did you get into drag? Where did you come up with your name? And how has your drag evolved?
Okay. Well, I touched on how it has evolved already, kind of. I started in college, kind of as a way to experiment with gender, and also to become part of the community, because I was kind of struggling, like, getting to know people. So I'd go to the club, and I found out that this drag show was happening, and I thought it was a good way to get to know people. And so I did that, and then I was like, oh, this is fun. It was terrifying, but it was fun. And also, like, I really wanted to start getting out of my comfort zone. And so then I came back to Connecticut and did a few competitions that summer, and it just kept going with it. So my name, actually, the very first time I was on stage, I didn't have a drag name because I was just doing like a runway walk, and I was still terrified. I was shaking. I don't remember any of it, but it was like, I didn't even have a name because I wasn't doing a solo performance. They didn't have to introduce me. I was just doing it to, you know, to do it. And then the very first time I did a solo performance, I actually cut my song down to like 1 minute and 30 seconds because I didn't know if I would survive any longer. Because I was like, oh, so nervous. I don't remember any of that either. I just know I went and I did it. And at the end, I was like, I don't know what I did, but I think I did okay. I don't know. But like, the queens were really supportive, and that was awesome because there wasn't very many kings around. But my first time doing a solo performance, my name was actually Jace. And then I was like, because I was going back and forth between Ray and Jace. So I tried out Jace, and then I was like, nah, Ray is better. So Rey de Corazon, it kind of comes from King of Hearts in Spanish, but I chopped off de corazones just because it sounds better to me. And I don't know why I was kind of drawn to like this playing card aesthetic. Like back in middle school, I would draw playing cards, and I don't know. But yeah, there was more thoughts going into that, but I don't know if I could explain it right now. But so that's where the name came from. And anything else did I miss in that super question?
I think you answered the soup. I will say, Ray, it's so funny to me to hear you talk about being nervous, because the energy and the confidence you have on stage is like infectious. No,
yeah,
it
so
really is.
Nerves.
No, I mean, like, I don't know. I think back to the first time I saw you perform, which had to have been really early on, because you were still going back and forth. And it was like at least 3 years ago, because I was early in my Let's Have a Kiki show.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that one. Oh, that one's got to be in my show. Because that one's got the stage presence. That one is like, I mean, you know, and you know, it helps that, you know, as a king, you're different from everybody else automatically. I get there's also special challenges as a king, but for my show, I like diversity. So, you know, it was a bonus for me. It didn't make it harder for you to get in my show. But it's so funny to me to hear. And like, as I've gotten to know you better, obviously I recognize the nerves when you're off stage versus on. And it's like, I can't even comprehend you being nervous to get on stage, because you're just so amazing on stage. Every time.
Thank you. Yeah. You see me backstage though. Like, someone commented on that. I think Lewis at the Shea, he commented on it, because backstage I'll be jumping around, like trying to like get the nerves. I'll be like I don't know, kind of like closed off and just like real stiff. And then as soon as I get out there, it's like, for me, I want to do well. And so that's what it's been from the start. It's like trying to act confident on stage so that I can bring some of that off stage with me too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just, I have this like strong desire to do well and entertain the crowd. And that kind of, I force myself to like push the nerves away so that I could be entertaining.
Miss Sparkle, what about you? Do I need to repeat the alphabet soup question that we have?
No, I actually wrote it down. I got some note paper right here.
Of course, yeah. So for anybody watching who doesn't know, Sparkle is an HR manager when she's not in drag. And so of course you wrote down the question.
Oh gosh, you know me so well. And by the way, Ray, just so you know, the nerves never go away. I actually see the nerves as a good thing now, and I talk to them. So call me crazy, but that's okay. How did I get into drag? So this is actually a story.
We like.
I know. So back in 2005, 6-ish, I was dating a guy, and the relationship was horrible. But I think the beauty that came out of it is that I met his gay family. And eventually his gay family became my gay family. And so the first time in drag, believe it or not, I tell everybody that I'm a pageant queen, and I don't think they understand what I mean by that. My very first time in drag, I competed in a pageant. So,
oh my God.
I know.
My second time in drag, I competed, not in a pageant, but I competed. So I get you. Okay.
I was living in Baltimore. I was in college. There was a bar in Baltimore by the name of Club Buns, and I competed in the Miss Club Buns pageant, my very first time in drag. I was placed in drag by the person I recognized at the time as my gay grandmother. Her name is Helena Hologram, very well known in the Baltimore area. But my name wasn't the same name. I am so not revealing that name because I did not like that name.
It can't be any worse than Summer Orlando's original name.
Oh gosh, it was crazy. Anyway, so fast forward a little bit. I had a new drag mother. Her name is Shauna Alexander. She is known as the Queen of Comedy in Baltimore. And so one day we were on the phone, no lie. And she said, I'm holding a bottle of sparkling cider in my hand. I said, okay, Sparkle it is. And just at that time, she had just the old movie Sparkle, the old black and white version of Sparkle. She had given me the VHS, and I fell in love. So, we were sitting down talking, and she was like, "I have Vala Sparkling Cider in my hand." And I was like, "It's Sparkle. That is my name." The A, so I'm Sparkle A Diamond. The A in my name is for Alexander. So Shauna Alexander, Sparkle Alexander. That was my original drag name. And then I became a part of the Diamond family in Baltimore in or around 2008. So that's how Sparkle A Diamond was born. And how has my drag evolved? I would say, I would honestly say, I think I'm in a place right now where I really want my drag, or sort of the numbers that I do, the music that I do, to really mean something to people. Again, I went back and I talked about a little bit of nostalgia. It's that, but it's many other things. Meaning, like, I'll give you an example. Tomorrow, I'm doing the show up at Mohegan Sun, and one of the mixes I'm doing is for Women's History Month, because I want to make sure, yes, I'm a feminist, but I want to make sure that I recognize women in that space too. For instance, last month I did music on Black History, so I want to make sure that now my music means something, rather than just going out there and saying I'm gonna do a Whitney Houston number. So that's how my
But I
drag
do
has
love your
evolved.
Whitney Houston numbers when you do them.
And by the way, I just want to make this clear. Like, I absolutely love Lucy, but her and I have this like queen quarrel going on right now. She is one of the best people in the world to me, period. But like,
Thank
she
you.
threw
Thank
something
you.
at
Come
me.
on
So
to her.
I'm gonna still get her. I'm gonna still get her.
I'll see you outside after this.
Okay,
I'll see
let's
you
do this.
Mhm.
Let's do this.
I will get in my car and drive to Bridgeport. You know I will.
Come on, I got a glass of wine for you.
Your husband will let me in. All right, I don't want to take any more time.
No. I'm going to take a second to answer the question, just because, like, I feel like I don't talk about my origins ever. And for 2 seconds, I'm going to make it about me. Why not? Advantages of being the moderator, right? So my drag, I've been in and around the drag community since I was 18. When I came to the U.S. from the Middle East, one of the first things I did was go to the old Polo club in Hartford, which was a drag cabaret space. And at 18, I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and confused and didn't know what was going on. And my Middle Eastern Muslim upbringing did not prepare me for that moment. But seeing the performers and seeing the people like so comfortable with themselves, like I was like obsessed. And I like helped backstage for like 12 years. And then, oh my God, it's Rocco. Hi, Rocco.
No, he wanted to get up.
But yeah, so I hung out backstage, helped carry bags. I was that guy that was back there helping everybody. And then I was turning a certain milestone age, and said, "Oh, I should do this just before I turn 30, just like like bucket list." And then I just never took the wigs off. Like so it became a thing. And just for as far as the origin of my name, Kiki is for my little sister, who is a consummate inspiration for me. Her name is Catherine. Her other name is Dennis, but Catherine is easier to use in drag. So Kiki comes from that. And then Lucia was the last name of my original drag family also. So I get the drag family relations sparkle. And Miss Audrey Hepburn has always been a big inspiration of mine. So she right here for us today. What?
I just wanted to jump in here. I absolutely love when you talk about like coming from the Middle East, et cetera, because like we have very similar backgrounds, and having to like some of our drag origins are so similar, because like we started out carrying people's bags into the club. Sometimes you don't know what the heck is going on, but like you're literally just a bag person, right? And you're helping them get dressed, but at the same time you're in awe because you're like, oh, I want to be you one day. My origins, I'm originally from the U.S. Virgin Islands, specifically St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, and it was the same thing for me. So I just love to hear you talk about that.
Well, so that brings me to my next question perfectly. Thank you for that segue. I'm going to combine a couple different identities. So I apologize that I'm going to like make everybody think really hard for a second. But so my question is like, how does your gender identity, sexual orientation, racial background, how does your identity feed into your drag or not? Right? Because maybe it doesn't. Maybe you do the exact opposite of what you are, right? So how does like who you are out of drag and all the beautiful things of your identity to make you reflect in your drag or inspire your drag or not? And I'm going to start with Ray because we're just kind of going in circles here with different people starting.
All right. So okay. So I'm trans, and a lot of drag kings are trans, and they use drag to kind of explore gender. So I think doing drag helped me be more comfortable with masculinity and femininity. And that was kind of interesting because I definitely, after becoming more comfortable with expressing masculinity, it helped me be more comfortable with femininity, which is something I was very uncomfortable with before doing drag. And my drag characters are, so outside of drag, I'm trying to think of which way to go with this. Outside of drag, I identify as non-binary and I use they, them pronouns. But in drag, I feel like my characters are binary, even if they might dabble with gender in like not like break gender rules. But I feel like my characters' identities are binary because I have Ray, who is he, him, and then Reina, she, her, which I've only performed a couple of times, but it still feels like a separate, like, this is my queen drag, this is my king drag. And sometimes like I'll do something that is gender like mixy in either of those identities, but for some reason I feel like those identities are binary. And then I guess another note that has affected drag a little bit, I identify somewhere on the asexuality spectrum. I guess demisexual, but it's fluid, which also fed into choosing my drag name because there's kind of a correlation between the like card suits, like asexual, people shorten it to ace, so that's kind of like a symbol. And so that's also why I was drawn to having like King of Hearts be what my drag name was based on. And I had another thought about that. Oh yeah. And I think that's also why when I started out doing drag, I was kind of overly sexual because it was something that I didn't feel outside of drag. Like, I don't know. I know that I've talked to other people who, there are other people who identify as like asexual and get into doing like performing in a very sexual way. And I think it's because it feels like a I don't know, like a character kind of put on, I don't really know how to explain it, but for some reason, like, it was fun to do that as Ray, even though outside of that, I felt more asexual. I don't know if is that
I'm digesting all that. That's why I'm being so quiet, because like it's kind of amazing, this idea. One of the things that I say to make a good drag character is you take all the things you love about yourself and you make them bigger. And you take everything you don't like about yourself or that you wish you could change and you do the opposite. And that's how you can create like this like realistic character, because they have all the flaws that you might love about yourself, but they also can maybe be something different than who you are. So they still have that like authenticness that is based in reality, but then they're not you, right? Because they're still a character. And this like idea of being part of one sexual orientation and then portraying a different one. Like I kind of like I'm into this because I have that with like a lot of people think of Kiki as a lesbian. So like I totally get where you're going. I'm on the train, I bought my ticket and I get it. Lucy, what about you? How does Tim become Lucy?
Well, I think that it doesn't really inform anything for me personally about my gender, my sexuality, but it does inform a lot on sort of my acceptance of masculinity versus femininity. So I would say that, when I was younger, when you're in like elementary school, before people really know what gay is, there were a lot of things about me that people really liked. They liked that I was a character, and they liked that I was funny, and they liked that I was over the top. And then you get around middle school, and then those things that they used to like are the reasons that they no longer like you. And then that sort of carries on through adulthood too, because you not only have people in the heterosexual community who don't like you for being too feminine, but then there are also, unfortunately, a lot of people in the gay community who are internally homophobic, and they don't like when others in their community are too over the top. And so when I'm in drag, I can do all of those things and I can be all of those things. And it helps me to just live that truth, I guess, much more fervently outside of drag too, because it's basically just saying, hey, this is who I am, this is how I talk, this is how I walk, and this is just how it's going to be. And funny enough, that has made me in and out of drag a lot more similar. I used to sort of put on a character, and now I just am myself most of the time. It's just me with more stuff on.
Yeah.
And there's
with
something,
a pound of makeup.
right, a lot of makeup. And there's also something, just touching on gender a little bit, there's something that is really empowering about dressing as a female presenting character, because there's a misconception that I think sometimes there are people out there who think that drag is making fun of women and that it's disrespectful to women, and it is the complete opposite. I mean, any young queer person, I'm sure, can tell you that when you're growing up, it's these women who you idolize. And for me personally, I see drag as a way of like really taking those women, putting them up on pedestals and saying, hey, I put a lot of time and money and effort into these elements that you just have with you all of the time. Because I think women have to be stronger than men. They have to be, because they're not treated as equals. And so you have the queer thing and you have the woman thing. You put that all together, you got to be strong, especially when you're on stage in front of a bunch of people who are going to judge every last thing that you do.
Well, and I totally feel you on that, because I feel like I'm super feminist, right? Like Sparkle always says that she's always like, oh yeah, I know Kiki, she's a feminist, and I feel like doing drag has made me a better feminist and made me a better like advocate for queer women and gender diverse individuals, because it's like I have a complete different appreciation and understanding of my own relationship with gender and identity because I do this art, right? Sparkle. What about you? What are you thinking? I know you're thinking a lot.
Yeah.
Especially because we brought
Oh gosh.
and femininity, and I know you got lots of opinions on this.
Oh yeah. I have a ton of opinions on this. Very similar to Lucy though. I'll actually take it back from when, like, growing up. As you know, I grew up on a Caribbean island, right? And like there was a lot of teasing, there was a lot of words, there was a lot of, like, I grew up majority of my childhood wondering what the heck is wrong with me. I know Lucy's dog is asking me what the
Sorry,
heck
I'm
is wrong with me
sorry.
too. No, you're fine.
Lucy, it's not a real virtual event if there isn't a dog going off.
I know. That's true.
But I essentially grew up in sort of this space, but I always knew that there was a space where I can coexist and be myself. And after high school, I always knew that I had to leave the Virgin Islands. Like something was drawing me away from it. And so leaving the US Virgin Islands, and honestly, like, college was my way out. Like, I told my mom I was going to college. I was going to find myself, right? Right. And when I landed in Baltimore, I felt like almost like the floodgates opened in terms of like me now needing and wanting to be myself a bit. And so I went throughout my entire college years very like androgynous, I would say. I would gender bend a lot of times. Like I would be that one person that would go out to the club with some tight jeans on and some heels with a jersey or whatever. For me, it was all about like, why do we have to really conform to gender norms? And I've always been within that headspace. And then we talk about my drag. And my drag, in my opinion, is like me as a female in the most perfect way. Like living like, I can be myself. Um, oh, I'm sorry. My best friend is on the live, and she said we bolted off that island, and she's absolutely right because we did. And she was always, and honestly speaking, like she was the first person that I came out to, for instance, and she used to always cover for me, and we have a super close relationship. So, um, my drag now has translated into like, if I was a woman, this is who I should be. This is who I want to be. And these are the individuals that I'm going to celebrate, right? Individuals that have always coexisted in not just Black spaces, but also queer spaces. And I want to make sure that I celebrate that. In terms of my identity, yeah, I identify as gay. There is a part of me that also identifies as pansexual. And if you think about the people that I gravitate more towards individuals who don't feel gender is something that holds us back. In other words, I gravitate towards other like androgynous, gender bending individuals just like myself. Because I feel like we all have a story to tell. And it comes from, and our story comes from somewhere or originates somewhere. And I love hearing those stories. So that's kind of how like Sparkle is like the perfect version of Kishorn.
Well, I think Kershorn is the perfect version of Sparkle. I'm just saying.
Well, we'll talk one day over some wine.
So I can't believe that we have like 10 minutes left. I don't understand where the time has gone. Clearly we need to have like 7 more of these conversations to get through everything.
Yes.
This is part 1. I like this.
It's part one. I do want to give a shout out to Ms. Diamari LaBeja who's watching. Love you, Zio. Thank you so much for all your kind words. And Zio, I want you to host one of these conversations in Spanish. So we're
good idea.
We're gonna talk. So I am going to ask these next 2 questions, and I don't care if we go 5 minutes over. So my first question, which is a short answer, is what is the weird thing that's in your makeup kit that everybody would be like, why is that in there? and what do you use it for? And I'll go first because I am asking a question that makes you have to think. So my thing is I have a knife in my makeup kit. And everybody is always like, why is there a knife in there? And I use it to break up the powder that is like super compressed so that I can do like really heavy highlight. So what about you? What is the weird thing in your makeup kit and what do you use it for?
Lucy, you took my answer, but because I do have a sharp edge for that reason. I guess the other thing that's in my makeup kit that people will be like, what the heck are you using it for, is a credit card, an old credit card, an expired credit card. So if you see sometimes when drag queens do like really straight edges up here on the eyes or on the cheeks, that's what my card is for. You leave my card in there and it's staying with makeup. Leave it in there. Thank you.
I hope you don't put it the wrong way and accidentally imprint your number on your cheek. I kind of want to see that happen.
No, I don't. I
Oh
always
my
turn
God.
it to the front though, and you start to chisel.
What about you, Lucy? What's something weird that's in your makeup kit?
Well, I think a lot of people don't really know that, you know, the big, huge eyelashes that we wear, that regular lash glue really is not going to cut it for those. And so a lot of us will use hair glue, like the glue from the hair store that where you like glue the tracks in. We'll put that right on our eyeballs, and along with 50 other adhesives that are in different places. So that would be one. And then also just like a bottle of emergency Gorilla Glue. If I don't have nail glue or something, I will just put straight up Gorilla Glue on my nails and put them on.
I felt that.
I know. But as I always say, I have man hands, so I need nails. Or I've been doing gloves lately. I've been doing a lot of gloves.
What about you, Ray? What's something weird?
I can't think of anything too strange. The one thing I can think of that a lot of other kings do is they'll have like hair clippings for their beard that they'll stick on their face. I don't like to do that because it freaks me out. But the one thing that I use like for a different purpose, I'll do my beard with mascara, and some people are surprised by that.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard though, because a lot of people, like when they're starting off, like you have to get used to like how to do it without making it too splotchy or anything to get the right texture. And then also it matters what like the brush tip looks like, because if it's the one that I have is really like fluffy, soft, big bristles to get more of a texture. If it's too hard, it just won't come out good. So it's difficult, and that's why like doing it with real hair, it tends to be a go-to for a lot of kings, but that freaks me out. So
I'm going to put it out to the internet right now. If you want to draw a beard on like Ray did at his own and look as freaking sexy as he does when he is in drag, all you need is a mascara brush. Now you know.
And a lot of practice. Or
the more you know,
they'll draw it like they'll draw each individual line with like a pencil or makeup. And I've done that a couple times, and it comes out like more bold. So sometimes I'll do that depending, but yeah.
So I am going to sneak one extra question in because I think this is a relevant question. We can do this one quickly before my final question. And that is, how has COVID changed your drag? And what do you think of virtual shows? And I already know the answer for Ray, but you still have to answer it.
I personally, I find virtual shows to be really difficult for me, given that the majority of what I do is like work on the microphone. I do a lot of stand up and I prefer to host. And I really feed off of the energy of the people in the room. And one of the things that I like to do is sort of just talk to the audience members and go off of that. And when you don't have an audience and you're doing it here and you have a little dog who doesn't understand why you're in full drag in the middle of the day up against a wall, you know, I find it difficult. I like that we have done them, obviously, but I find them tough. They're hard for me.
What about you, Ray? I kind of know the answer already, but
yeah.
Tell us anyway.
Yeah, it's not my thing. I did one virtual show, run by Bitch Put in like and I did it live, and I liked that it was still live. And I didn't do a lot of dancing. It was like this screen, like you saw me here, and I did like hand choreo, and it was a lot of effort to like put it all in, and it was exciting because it was like, oh, I get one shot at this because it's still live, and like I actually was really proud of what came out of it, but it's a lot of work. And my drag before COVID, I really enjoyed the audience interaction, and it also gives you a break from having to like choreograph everything. You could just go through the audience, and it was a lot of fun. And now that's not an option, so everything has to be more choreographed, which takes more effort, but also it's kind of a learning experience when I'm doing like on stage live shows, but I can't go into the audience. I've had to like rethink how I do it. It's also like been a nice break to do less drag and actually like, I don't know, like, because I was going nonstop for what, like 3 years of having gigs every month, and like it was exhausting. And it's been nice to like do less drag and be like, okay, now I get to think about when I return, like what I want to do, and maybe only do the drag that I'm proud of and the drag that I'm excited about, and not feel like I have to do drag all the time. And just like, I want drag to be enjoyable again. So it like, if something good came out of COVID for me, it's like having the space to reflect on what I want to do next with my drag. But yeah, the virtual shows, like the pre-recorded things, it seemed like more stress than what's worth it, because I really enjoy being in front of the audience, and that was a big part of it for me. So I didn't feel like it was personally worth it to do virtual shows and stress myself out. So I've been enjoying a little less drag for now.
What about you, Sparkle? What do you think of this whole virtual thing we're doing?
Lucy said it best. Like, it's difficult. Like, I'm an extrovert at my core, so like there's no audience like interaction. I love interacting with the audience when I'm performing, so it was quite difficult for me. But I am the queen of silver linings, honey. So I will tell you a silver lining in every bad situation. Okay. I just like the fact that, one, sometimes I ain't had to wear no damn heels. And two,
I got sweatpants on.
listen. And two, as soon as that damn performance was over, I went upstairs and de-dragged. You hear me? So I love the fact that as soon as I come off that camera, baby, all them earrings come out, all that stuff come off. Matter of fact, sometimes in front of the camera, I used to de-drag and say, "Oh shoot, I'm still in front of the camera. Let me get up behind."
So follow up to this, and this is like lightning round, right? So just quick. So follow up. Have any of you? Because I've been doing this a lot the last 6 months, questioning whether or not I should still do drag, questioning if I still am passionate about it. Because like Ray, like I was doing drag 3-4 times a week, every single week, right? For 4 years. And then now I'm doing it once a month. Are you questioning what your art is, what you're like, is that something that's happening to you all?
I personally, I never questioned whether or not I wanted to continue doing drag, but it definitely made me take a step back and say to myself, do I want to be spending as much time on doing drag? And so I find that now I don't say yes to everything. I used to have just a policy where I was like, hey, I'm lucky to be asked to do these shows. I'm going to say yes to every single one. But now I'm like, I don't want to do a show, get home at 3 a.m, and then do a brunch the next morning. It's just not good for me physically and mentally. So I would never stop completely, but like less shows means you can focus more on the shows that you're doing.
Ray, what about you?
Exactly that. Like I haven't considered, I mean, I'll say it before, I've been saying it since I started. I say it before like every show, like I'm gonna quit drag, but I'm never actually going to. When you're stressed out about it, it's like that's what you're thinking. But I don't think it's something that like I see myself quitting completely, like at all, just because if I'm not gonna say like, all right, I'm done with this, and then like I'm gonna change my mind when I just feel like going out there on stage again and have some sort of inspiration. Like I'm gonna, I'm gonna do what inspires me, but I'm not gonna pressure myself like I did before to take all the gigs. Like Lucy was saying, like you gotta take care of yourself, and then your drag's gonna be better just because you're happier with it.
Sparkle?
Same. I quit drag one time, and it didn't do me well because it lasted all of 6 months, and all I had to do was go to a drag show to realize that my behind belong on stage, and so
And
I
then
was
you
back
gotta
on
buy
stage.
everything again.
Pretty much because I actually sold everything, and it was right after I left Baltimore and moved to Philadelphia, and then I went to a show in Philadelphia, and I was like, I'm going back on stage. So, no. If anything, what I've been having a lot of dreams about is when outside open back up and I can start to like push up on a boy or something in the club while I'm doing my number. So, so that's what I've been dreaming about more so than anything. But honestly, I have not had any thoughts about quitting drag. If anything, I feel like when opens back up, so to speak, there'll be even more of a need. But to Ray and Lucy's point, I'm starting to think a little bit more about my sort of care and well-being, etc. And I just love to be home. So sometimes I just need that alone time. Like just let me just like not have any shows this weekend. So I actually look at my calendar every month and I look at the shows that I have and make sure I always have at least one free weekend. So I could just be at home in my robe, sipping on a cocktail, doing nothing. I'm actually in my drag room right now, right? So I might be in here like be bedazzling something, but like that's it.
So I am going to bring us to a close here with our final question. And hopefully Nick and Chris don't mind that we went a little over. What would you say to the next generation? So I have a theory. In drag has a 5-year cycle. And every 5 years, you either do one of three things. You quit, you reinvent yourself, or you become stuck in your ways, meaning you've figured out what you do, and that's what you do from that point forward. And you don't change much after that. So if you're thinking that drag is a 5-year cycle, that means all of us are old bitches now.
I'm ancient.
We're like we're the
4
elders
years.
now. We're the ones that we were making fun of like 10 years ago. So what would you say to that boy in the club that wants to be a drag queen, the trans kid that wants to be a king, or the gender bending artist? What would you say to that next generation of performers who are coming up behind all of us? What would be that one piece of advice you would give them?
For me personally, we're asked this pretty often about what advice we would give someone who wants to start or has just started, and I always give the same advice. It's just to remain kind, because I think with drag is very mainstream now. It's on television all the time, and because we watch it on TV and it's a reality show, we have a lot of younger performers who think, well, that's how drag performers have to act. We have to be rude and we have to be unprofessional. And of course, there's some fun, witty banter, but you have to be kind, because at the end of the day, if you want to do this on some sort of a professional level and actually get booked and make money, you need to be easy to work with. And so no matter what the reason is that you're doing it, you should be helping yourself, obviously, but you need to remain kind, because you're going to be a part of this community for the rest of your life. And your reputation should be that you're kind. And you'll do yourself a favor, because it takes a lot less effort and a lot less stress to just be nice.
Sparkle?
Yeah. I have a very, very strong piece of advice for this area. It's be kind. No, sorry. Be you, be kind, and be open. Right? So let me talk about be you real quick. Be you meaning whoever you are is your drag identity. Don't let anyone else say like drag is this. No, drag is what you make it. Be you. Boom. Right? My other piece is be kind. Please be humble, because we have a lot of people out here that are like, unfortunately, are I don't do messy too well. And I feel like we need a bit more infusion of kind. I don't hold drama with people here in Connecticut. Like, I love everybody. So be kind, please. The other piece is be open though, right? I will tell you, I've been doing drag for 14 years, and every time I've done a drag show, I've learned at least one thing from a drag queen who's been doing drag for 1 year. I don't care how long you've been doing drag, I'm still a student of life, and I'm still here to learn. So, although I may be a veteran at doing drag, I'm still going to be open to the learnings, because guess what? You are the one that's more in contact or more in touch with current pop culture than I am.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna be your student in the moment. Those are my three pieces of advice for individuals that want to kind of break out into this industry.
Ray, what about you?
I think just don't put too much pressure on yourself to be perfect when you start. Like, there's so many different pieces to drag. There's the costume, there's the makeup, there's the performing, there's the stage presence, there's dancing. Like, I'm still trying to figure out all of those. Like, you're gonna grow as you do it, and I feel like some people that are thinking about starting, that might stop them from just getting out there, because they feel like they have to perfect everything before they're on stage. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I got out on stage, and even though my makeup was terrible the first time, and like I wasn't much of a dancer, and I just kind of walked around and tried to, survive. I had, after that first time, I had the experience of being on stage for the first time, and you're gonna get better at everything as you have more experience. So don't put all that pressure on yourself to like be comparing yourself to people or whatever. Just have do what you can and be open to learning, and know that you're not going to be perfect. Don't take yourself too seriously. Just go out there, learn, have fun, be open-minded, and don't let that pressure or other people stop you from trying drag, because you can learn a lot about yourself and about like gender and so much. Like, it's so rewarding. You just gotta go out and try it.
I love that, because I think I always say, like, everybody has their ugly period in drag, right? We all had it. We all did.
Sparkle is still in hers, actually.
Maybe not Lucy.
I'm still there.
According
According to Lucy, but I'm gonna check out the next show.
Yeah. No, but we all have our period in which our drag is like, ooh, mine was like a week ago. It was still a mess. But no, and we all have that moment, and it's important to remember that. And I think that's what my advice would be, to kind of almost pair with that, is learn the art of drag, right? Because drag is so broad, and we all do so much. And yes, it can be really easy, and I'm guilty of this. It's really easy to like buy a costume, buy a wig, buy this, buy that. Stop and learn those crafts along the way. Because even if you don't do those things yourself, right? Like, I don't style wigs. I make costumes periodically, but like, that's not where my skill set is, but I still have stopped to try to learn that skill. And it just makes you better appreciate what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, the really cool thing about drag is that we know so many skills because we have to. We are literally a regional theater embodied in a human, right? We do costume, we do sound mixing. Now in COVID, we're all doing video editing. Like, I learned how to video edit, right? I just sat down one day and fiddled around in iMovie for like 10 hours, and now I know how to make videos, right? Like that's how we all learn. And that would just be the thing that I would say to the next generation is like, stop and learn everything. Even if you never use the skill, like even if you never style your own wigs and you just buy them from Shop Will Beauty, or even if you never make your costumes and you just buy them from Me Easy Lay, still take that moment to have that experience, because it will make your art rooted in the tradition, and ultimately having that connection to the tradition of what is art, which is ultimately, I think, one of the highest form of creativity. you'll just be so much more connected. So any final words? I'm going to do this lightning round really quick, and I'm going to go in the order on my screen. So Lucy, any final words?
My final words would be that I am so happy to be a part of this community. And there was a time in probably all of our lives when we didn't want to be part of the queer community, and now I would not change it for the world. If I could do it all over again, I would pray to be gay. Also, this is Rocco, and you should follow us on Instagram.
We love Rocco. And follow Lucia on all her social media at Lucy Laduka on the bottom of your screen. And then Miss Sparkle, what is your final words here?
Final words: spread love and live. You know why? Those are the two things that I can tell you off the top of my head that you will regret later if you don't do. Boom.
Boom. Love it. And Ray, what about you? What are your final words?
If you're thinking about doing drag, just go out and do it. And this has been really fun to like hear other people's stories and stuff. So thank you for doing this.
Well, I have to thank all of you because, again, I mean, I said this at the beginning, but I adore all of you to pieces. I love your art. I love what you bring to the Connecticut drag scene. All of you are icons in your own way. I know 2 of you have crowns. Lucy just wears one, even though she's never won it. You know, I
Wow.
Oh, finally a read, yes.
Hey, they don't call me the queen of meme for nothing. But I adore all of you to pieces. I can't say enough about your art. And I'm just so thankful that you share it with our community. I'm going to bring the most fabulous Miss Laura back up here to close us out. But I just want to give so much love to all of you. And we are going to have more of these conversations, maybe with different queens and kings, maybe with different performers. But this was fabulous. There's so much more to say. And I'm just so thankful for all of you. And there's Laura.
Hey, everybody. Hey, guys. Oh, my gosh. This was such a great talk. I just have to say that before I say anything else. But I want to thank you all for joining us today for this programming. Remember, the center is here for you year-round with dynamic programming, support services, case management, and more. You can find out about all of our upcoming programming at newhavenpridecenter.org. Don't forget to follow us on social media either, including our Facebook, which is at newhavenpridecenter.org, or not .org, at New Haven Pride Center, and then as well as our Instagram at New Haven Pride Center and at New Haven Pride for our Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube, which is youtube.com/c/New Haven Pride Center. Finally, if you enjoyed today's program, please consider joining us as a member at newhavenpridecenter.org/join now. It's free. Or by making a donation to support our programming at newhavenpridecenter.org/donate. My dog also wants to do the outro with me, so sorry. but thank you again, and have a good night, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.